Welcome to the 1878 FM podcast, rather leaving the FM off, for four men, but there's not four men, there is only three, but the Diva is with us this week, and that makes me happy. He is back. Back. Punishment won't be discussed today. That will be next week when Ped is with us. But needless to say, there will be some sanctions, Andy, but today we're going to be nice to you.
Thanks, guys.
So I hope
I've come out with my trailer today to chat to you guys. It's just how it is. It's just the crazy world of show business, isn't it?
It happens.
Yeah, we just felt, I'll be honest with you, Andy, it would be an oversight and a slight lie to say that we didn't discuss you last week.
It will be.
And regular listeners will confirm the fact that your name was mentioned.
It was.
And we did feel that in some ways, and I don't want to deal with this now because we said before, I think the Ped needs to be here.
He does, yeah.
But we do think that there are aspects of your behaviour which are frankly unacceptable. And we therefore need to deal with this in the only way possible. But anyway, more on that later. How are you? And it's lovely to see you back.
Hey, what, is this a disciplinary? Is this? Do I need to have like a union rep with me for this particular episode?
Yeah, I mean, discipline's a big word.
It is.
I think and me and Baz don't want to get all heavy on your ass.
No.
But suffice to say that when Ped's back, we do have plans afoot to maybe make a new regime for 2023.
I'm up for that. I mean, maybe as a punishment, Ped can maybe go through his holiday photos or something.
Oh, by the way, I've already seen a whole stock load of them on Facebook. Have you seen them? So for those that don't know, by the way, also I should preface this by the fact that there is people staying in his house and looking after the Alsatians while he is away. Him and his wife are, or girlfriend, partner?
Wife.
Okay,
there you go. Official.
Just to check.
Official.
There you go. So they're in New York, I believe, from Facebook, because they have posted videos and indeed a whole gallery of photos of the Brooklyn Bridge and other notable New York skyline landmarks, and it looks very, very nice.
Do you remember back in the day when someone went on holiday, they would have like an overhead, like a projector thing, and you'd go through their holiday snaps? You remember? You ever been in that situation? We had a family do that with us. I remember when I was a kid, and it's a shame you don't get that anymore. I'd love to go around to Peds and get the projector out and go through them. Do you know what I mean?
You wouldn't turn up.
Yeah,
he would be sat there and you'd be interviewing someone.
He wouldn't turn up, but you know what the weird thing is, though, that actually what you describe, and it was a strange concept where you might get invited round to a family's house and they would say, would you like to see our photographs that, from when we went to Lille? And you kind of go, no, they would do it anyway. But the thing is that we don't really need to have those kind of performance events, do we? Because everybody just puts them on Facebook and we all just take it in turns to look through 37 photos from Mykonos
at our leisure.
It is at our leisure. Yeah, maybe on the bus or on the train or something.
Yeah, well, it was a more polite time back then because you at least get an invite, which you had the opportunity to decline. Whereas, no offense to Ped, but I've seen his holiday photos because they're popping up every 5 minutes on Facebook and stuff like that as well.
I don't go on Facebook, so I've not seen it. But
you're not on there at all?
I'm on there, but I just do not go on it.
Okay.
Well, bad experience, Facebook Marketplace experience on there or something?
No. It's just.
Do you ever go on Facebook Marketplace?
I bought my bike on there.
There's some weird stuff on there, isn't there? There's some. Have you seen this thing? I've become a bit obsessed with it, and as a result, it's changed the algorithm of what it shows me now when I open Facebook Marketplace. I'm obsessed with reborn baby dolls. Have you ever heard of a reborn baby doll?
I think you posted something about this the other week.
They're
very odd. They kind of look like the results of when two Cabbage Patch cousins may come together.
Oh my God!
Cabbage Patch cousins. I love that.
I like that.
The Bridgewater edition. No, it's the same. They're really expensive. They're incredibly lifelike, creepy kind of rubber baby dolls that people buy, and they're like a 800 quid, 900 quid, and there's loads of them on Facebook Marketplace. Yeah, it's mad.
We're in the wrong game, boys.
We are in the wrong game.
Quid.
They're huge. It's like nothing I've ever seen before. But I'll just add this, like I say, caveat, a warning. If you start looking for it on Facebook Marketplace, Facebook will think, oh, he's into that stuff, and start sending you more of it. So
that's it. Yeah.
No, I mean, listen, I do go on there. I put my bike on there. I have bought odd items of furniture on Facebook Marketplace. I actually do have some stuff to shift on Facebook Marketplace coming up. So if you're
what kind of stuff?
So look out for that.
I've got some
Cabbage Patch doll.
No, I've got some furniture which no longer fits my requirements. So I'm going to be, moving that on to a new home.
Fair play. I mean, Ned had a great experience on Facebook Marketplace. last year. Was it last year, Ned? Last year, wasn't it? He wanted a sell. Okay, he wanted to sell his iMac, old iMac.
Oh dear.
He put it on exactly. Yeah, he put it.
That's different. That's for his legs.
Not for the iMac for his legs.
If you sell electrical items on Facebook Marketplace, you open yourself up to the biggest focused collection of weirdos in the United Kingdom.
Which is what Ned did. Ned basically arranged to sell his Mac. He'd already been bartering with this lad. So they eventually, he was saying to me, this lad's offering me like £100 less. And I said, stick to your price. That's what you're going to sell it for. If he doesn't want to buy it, swerve and someone else will. Anyway, the lad apparently agreed to pay the money. And he went to Ned's house, which, okay, I mean, alarm bells for me, but there you go. And Ned just basically handed his iMac over to him. And the lad walked off with it. And
he never saw any money.
He told him he'd wire transferred him the money.
Oh my word!
And showed him a black screenshot. But I did point out to Ned that when that happens, normally you wait for it to land in your bank, and then you go, you may have it. Anyway, the lad.
Ned sounds like one of those people that gets asked to run the tap upstairs while someone goes through their handbag.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I fear for him when he's older.
Yeah, I do.
He's definitely scam central.
100%.
He will be on, if Dom Littlewood has learned to stay alive for that long, Ned will don't get dommed at some stage.
Wow, poor Ned.
But the lad that the mad thing about it was this gentleman who had about 47 different profile names or whatever had scammed quite a few people, and the police were aware of it, but said something like we're powerless to stop it almost.
Who'd have thought that there were unsavouries even in St Helens?
Exactly. I just maybe that's a note of caution, Dave, before you sell this mysterious bit of furniture.
Get the money first.
Well, I don't. Yeah, and I don't want it to sound weird. It's just furniture which no longer suits my requirements, and I would like to see it go to a good home. But I will be making sure that I take on board Ned's experience and indeed your advice, and to make sure that nothing is parted with, as it were, until I get the cash in my account.
Satisfactory payments.
A love swing, would that go in? Would that go in like furniture, or would it go in like recreational?
Love swing. Well, I don't know. I mean, it's difficult to know how you categorize stuff like that. Yeah. I tell you what, no, I mean, back to your original thing about how weird and random Facebook Marketplace can be. It's kind of like the one show of buying stuff, isn't it? Because all sorts of stuff just come up in any order. And I kid you not, I was on there about a year ago.
Yeah.
A little bit like this podcast. I was on there and I saw... Right, there was a lady, and she was a larger lady, and which is great.
Yeah,
and she was selling some of her second-hand lingerie, I suppose you'd call it.
Okay.
Oh right.
It was underwear, ladies' underwear. That was, it was. It's the sort of thing that you might not wear every day. Put it that way.
Yeah.
I'm just
trying special
to be careful.
Occasions.
Yeah, special occasions, weekends, birthdays, something like that, right? So she was trying to sell this. Now, I don't know whether if I was in the market for ladies' lingerie, and by the way, I'm not.
Okay.
If I was, I don't know whether I'd buy it on Facebook Marketplace.
No.
But maybe some people do. And then literally on the next page, right, as if it was her posting, there was a secondhand inflatable boat, like a kind of dinghy, right? And these were next to each other.
It's not one of those things which said people who bought this also bought
this. Maybe
absolutely.
She was in for a great weekend cruising.
I mean, that's an inflatable dinghy and some specialist undergarments.
Hey, listen, you never know when your luck's gonna be in, do you?
I tell you what, that's a hell of a Saturday night in St Helens, isn't it?
It is, isn't it? Ned down to Carmill Dam on his with his lingerie on and his inflatable boat.
Well, I'll tell you what, you've been after the backstory to why Dave was paddleboarding down in Devon with pasties in his bag. There it is.
Absolutely. Maybe they weren't pasties. That's all I'm saying.
I don't know whether I can say. I'm going to say it, and if people have a go, fair play. But I once saw on one of those things, and it was reposted. Somebody selling a girl selling half a bottle of anal lube, and it said hardly used.
Right, low mileage.
And it was okay.
But you know what?
I don't know who buys half a bottle of anal lube.
I don't either. But you know what I like about that, right?
I'm always been BYO. Just put it out.
Just put it out. Yeah.
you know what I like about that is the fact that in the current climate where there is so much wastage, and people might get halfway through what would you call it? Is it a tube or a bottle?
I think it was like a
tube.
Like
I love how you pretend not to know that, Dave.
Like a tube.
I can't remember. It was. I suppose it was. It's not a bottle because essentially a bottle you feel like is almost like glass or like what you drink Coke out. It was one of those, like
like toothpaste.
No. It was like
It's like what we seal the bath with.
Where you sit. No, it wasn't painter's cork or silicone. And it wasn't a pump action either.
I tell you what,
it was a cylinder, but like a plastic cylinder. So would you call that a bottle?
I know what you mean, but I tell you what, it's mind-blogging in terms of the application, varieties that you could have there with something that was, like a pump like
it's a boot killer, isn't it? It's so long though, you'd have to get the other person to do it for you. You know what I mean? You can do that yourself.
Or invite a friend around.
Exactly.
Who's got a lingerie and an inflatable dinghy.
An inflatable dinghy?
I mean inflatable. That wouldn't be very good, an inflatable dinghy, would it? A floatable dinghy.
Do you know what? I think in many ways this conversation just sums up how much we are enjoying Everton not being active at the moment.
I was just about...
It's just the best thing, isn't it?
I was just about to move on and go.
This is the happiest Evertonians podcast that we've ever done.
Ever.
And it will only go back to normality when on Boxing Day.
I'm dreading it. I'm absolutely dreading the start of the season again. Are you lot dreading it? I've got terrible vibes.
In many ways, actually, that newly announced rail strike actually has done everybody a favour, hasn't it? Which will actually knacker all the Boxing Day fixtures.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I honestly just... We've had I put a little thing on our Premier this morning with just like some random subjects for the pod today, just in case.
In case we wanted to just talk about random stuff, Barry, is that what you're talking about?
No, in case we were stuck. We're never stuck, but just in case. Okay. Just in case we did. But one of them was from Gareth Hughes, and Gaz, he's a top lad, Gaz says, after this sample, would you now be in favour of Winter World Cups as the norm? I would be in favour of yearly Winter World Cups that stop football for 6 or 7 weeks at a time. Just so we can all get our breath back.
We were just to like aside from Everton for a second, but as a World Cup, it's been a really interesting one because it hasn't had the same vibe as I've not seen anyone driving around with England flags sticking out the car.
No.
There's not been any of that. But I think football-wise, it's been the best World Cup for a long time. The group, been the best group stage
definitely.
ever, I think. So it's this really weird split between. Like for example, you can always tell how popular a World Cup is. Like, say if my other half, Katie, gets into it, whereas I find a lot of people's other halves have not really been that bothered about it because obviously morally it's a little bit questionable as well. It's almost like if you're into football, it's a great World Cup, but it hasn't really spread out into the wider realm of pop culture. In a weird way.
I said that myself. It's what's taking place on the grass has been excellent, but it's almost like it doesn't feel like anything else is going on other than what's on the pitch.
Yeah, no fan zones or anything like that.
Yeah, no,
it's normally like a carnival, isn't there?
It is weird. It is weird. And I was thinking that today, coming back on the school run, and I did actually see like a St George's flag hanging outside this house.
Yep.
As is popular normally during a major tournament.
It is.
And I saw it and I kind of thought, actually, I haven't seen many of those. No. And it seems odd, actually, to have this flag outside, which, as you say, should normally be accompanied by kind of like, weekend barbecues and lads walking around with cases of ale under their hand in flip-flops and shorts and stuff, going off to their mates to watch the match, and it's just a strange thing where, you're more likely to find someone coming home with a Christmas tree.
Exactly.
And it just doesn't really fit right, does it?
Do you know the other thing is, the other bit I found fascinating is that there's been like a real shift in what it is to be an England fan, in that we've been controlling games and kind of strangling the life out of teams a little bit and never really been in peril. I mean, the backdrop, the narrative to being an England fan normally is Terry Butcher, brave failure and bloody bandage and all that kind of stuff. Whereas, just the last game, we never really, in the first 20-minute wobble when, Maguire was having a bit of a weird one and so was Stones, really kind of controlled the game and just eased them out the way. So you I haven't really had that kind of, few Hail Marys at half-time type thing that you normally get with an England team because we're kind of in control. We've turned into like what Germany used to do to us back in the day, really. Like, wish we were a bit cold and clinical and didn't have nerves like they do. Well, we're kind of like that now. It's weird. It's odd.
I wonder if they're enjoying our performances back home in Dusseldorf.
I'm sure.
Possibly.
I'm sure they are.
Possibly. They are back there now.
So what are your thoughts then, boys, for Saturday? Obviously, this is a big one. I mean, not saying that Senegal wasn't a tough match, and potentially it was tricky, but France, that's the
Different level,
proper test, isn't it?
Well, I mean, we'll know where we're at properly. I don't feel like we've really played anyone that's going to, so far, bar like a roadblock with the USA game. We haven't really kind of properly tested ourselves at the moment. One of the biggest Achilles heels of this England team is that if it gets too easy, they make mistakes. So that's what I thought. When we have been in a bit of jeopardy, it's just through our own doing, like making mistakes. Really, to be honest with you. So I don't know. I mean, I think when you're a top level player like we've got in our team now for England, I think they'll just see this as they're really confident. This is the kind of game we should be winning, and it might be a real fork in the road moment for England where these are the games we might end up battering them. I mean, France are good, don't get me wrong, but I feel like we've got a good enough team to at least match them.
Yeah, they are very dangerous. Mbappe is tremendous, and I think if England leave as many gaps as they did against Senegal, they'll be in trouble. There's no doubt about it.
And Giroud as well is much
Giroud.
Underrated, I think. And I was thinking about him the other day. I mean, was he not an option for us at one point? He was rumoured.
Yeah, he was practically done. Great. He was done.
I mean, why did that not happen? Because he wasn't getting in the Chelsea side.
It was when he was his wife, wasn't it? It was when he was leaving Arsenal, and it's difficult to say. There was a reason why she didn't want him to move to Merseyside. Let's leave.
Okay, this is nothing to do with Ned's experience in St Helens?
No, I don't think he'd had a iMac stolen off him.
Okay, because that could swing.
Because that would definitely, swing is an interesting word.
So to speak.
That would definitely change it. Yeah, but.
Speaking of which, should we be hearing rumours of strikers and stuff at the moment?
Well, I was just gonna.
You would think so, wouldn't you?
I was just gonna say, we're moving towards.
Are you texting Ped, by the way? Or are you doing your shopping list? What are you doing, Baz?
I've just put something in the group for you, so that.
Oh right, I see. Fine. Oh, okay. I think. Do you know what? Hang on. And listen, I know that we can't even allude to this, possibly, but is that true, Baz? That's maybe one of the reasons.
No, that was why it was stopped. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Mad.
By the way, we should maybe kind of like tease this information in some kind of like extra.
I think everyone probably knows, but we're not saying it.
I tell you what, I didn't know that.
No.
I
didn't know that that's the reason why he perhaps didn't want to come to us. But that's fascinating.
Interesting. Ronald Koeman wouldn't give him his iMac, and that was
bienvenue.
Yeah,
yes,
exactly.
Indeed.
Moving towards it. Obviously, it is a few weeks away. I don't really want to discuss it too much because, like you opened it up with before, it's been utterly delicious getting up in the morning, and it's the furthest thing from your mind. It's tremendous, and we've been doing live watch-alongs with crazy numbers every day. Just watching football, so exciting without it being Everton. But obviously, our football team is in dire need of forward players, and I mean, what I was going to ask you two first and foremost. Yes, we should.
I mean, in many ways. Sorry, but I just interrupt. I mean, in terms of the information that you just gave us before, you could perhaps describe Giroud as being a forward player, couldn't you?
You could, very forward, and he'd still improve us now. If he was to be able to get permission to move to us, if he could get a hall pass for a year or so. The actual thing for Everton is, when we're coming back now, do we think that the break will have done us good in terms of the reset button, so the players can almost, if you can, ignore the Premier League table as it is right now and ignore the form they're in, and almost it's day one again, because some teams are going to have to do that anyway, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, the simple answer is yes. You would hope so, if that's an answer. I mean, listen, if we rewind back to happier times, and the four of us have been on here and have kind of said, do you know what, things are going in the right direction, and they're working hard, and Iwobi buzzing around all over the place, and all these different things, and we look solid at the back, and all those qualities that we applauded. And obviously the wheels have come off a little bit.
Yeah,
well, a lot of bit.
Yeah.
But there's no reason why, we can't get back to that. But what that doesn't change, though, is the fact that we are woefully short. At the risk of sounding like a broken record, we are woefully short of any kind of firepower up front.
Yeah.
Because, once again, Dominic is not a long-term answer, right? And Mopé is also not a long-term answer.
No.
We need somebody, like the aforementioned Giroud, or somebody who is a tried and tested goal scorer. We've got to get somebody in. I mean, otherwise, I just fear it's going to be a real slog for the rest of the season. And we went through that last year. We can't go through that again because, we will be worryingly close. I mean, I was going to say worryingly close to the exit door, but that's assuming we stayed up by the skin of our teeth last year.
If you have a scare like that, surely you do everything in your power to make sure you sit down and think, right, we're not going to get ourselves into this position again. And Everton are sleepwalking back into exactly the same position.
Absolutely.
You don't have to be like a sports science expert to know that we were, roster-wise, we were incredibly thin on the ground up front. They still let a load of people go out on loan. They still haven't sorted it out. So weirdly, last season caught everyone by surprise, and it was a real shock, as we've discussed on this podcast, hugely traumatic being an Evertonian, and it was awful. I think it did affect my mental health, I'll be completely honest with you.
It did mine, 100%.
Yeah, it really did, knock you for six. So, but if we go down the same route this season, I will have a completely different approach to it, because they've had the warning signs there. It's not come as a shock, and they will only have themselves to blame, and it's like a different, almost slightly, I'll be slightly distanced from it, because you've been through this before, so you should have, planned accordingly. We've got a brilliant new stadium on the way, and to have that in the Championship would be such a travesty. Do you know what I mean?
I think last year emotional trauma was unbelievable. Sleep, everything. It's always on your mind.
I fell out with loads of people as well, actually.
Yeah.
On Twitter and stuff like that about football, just a lot of arguing. It was pathetic, really.
And the thing about it is, this year, I'll be angry. Last year, I wasn't angry. I was just disappointed. I was emotionally, like you said, Andy, almost, even though, Benitez coming in was a thing we knew wasn't going to end very well. Me thinking that wasn't going to end very well was Everton being 15th or something, and it just being 14th and being terrible to watch. It wasn't needing to be, with 40 minutes to go of our penultimate game with 2-0 down, and basically we're relegated because we were getting nothing at Arsenal.
Bar a miracle, which is frankly what happened.
Exactly. And
it was.
But this season, like you just said, we've had the warning signs. Yes, we improved the team. We absolutely did improve the team in the summer. We did. I don't think anybody could sit here and go, we never. But what we'd done was we also lost the goals. I said this earlier on something this week. Everton have been allowing goals to just seep out the back door for years. Yeah. Lukaku, with that team, I've done this to death, but I'm going to do it to bore you two as well for a couple of minutes right now. When Mashiri took over, that Everton side had Seamus Coleman in, who was obviously 6. Seamus Coleman still plays for us. Love him. So he was 6 years younger. So he was at the peak of his powers. Leighton Baines still had a few seasons to go. Good player. Okay, John Stones was there, albeit he went in the first summer Mashiri took over, but we had John Stones. Jagielka. Then in midfield, we had Gareth Barry, James McCarthy, Ross Barkley, Gerard Deulofeu, Romelu Lukaku. So when you look at all of those players, and there was others who were dancing around the edges, when you look at those players and then you say, here's a fella with a big pot of money.
Yeah.
And that team, bear in mind, was edging around, okay, Martinez managed to somehow finish 11th with it, but it was a team that should have really been challenging for the European place. When you look at the quality of those players and then that money came in, it's when I think about it now, it's all, and certainly because the next season when Koeman took over, we did get in Europe. We finished 7th and comfortably. It almost blows my mind that we have not improved since. In fact, since that moment,
gone backwards.
When Koeman's season finished, Everton have gone backwards factually.
Well, certainly in terms of the
league
attacking, in terms of the attacking options.
But the goals went. So
I know.
Lukaku went.
Yeah.
Rooney came in, became top scorer.
Yeah.
We let Rooney go the next season. We had Richarlison, we've let Richarlison, and we've never put goals. Ross Barkley went, who used to get 8-9 goals a season or whatever it was, assists. That's gone. And slowly,
what do we do to players though? Because I'm sitting there watching Davy Clarkson play really well. What is it with us? How can you come to people? Come to us, even managers come to us, like Silva. With the way Fulham play football at the moment. Well, what do we do? Are we like? It goes back to the curse thing, but we seem to do things to people that makes them, nowhere near as good as they actually are.
Maybe we're just institutionally dysfunctional. And so therefore, it can't be. We can't sit here and go, every manager since David Moyes has come in has failed, really. Martin has
it's all their fault, by the way. Yeah, that's
exactly.
It.
It can't.
All their fault.
If you try 7 or 8 managers like we have, and you don't get anywhere, it can't always be the manager's fault, can it? Players let you down. Absolutely, they do when they cross the white line. But there's got to be something bigger. And Frank Lampard, we all like, I think. But we all realise that he's got to improve as well.
Well, it's like I say, a bit of a crossroads with Frank. My prediction a couple of weeks ago, I think if he loses the 2 games the other side of the restart, then I think he might be gone.
We've lost possibly 6 in 8, haven't we?
Yeah,
so
certainly the stats are looking really bad.
8 and 10.
But it's either this thing of 2 transfer windows where he'll have had more than that, but number one, sort out the spine of the team, make us a bit more tough, which he's done. So this second one now is got to be the one where he adds the firepower. Otherwise, that's not the plan. I mean, I'll give him that time for definite. If you can't get it all done in one kind of go, but if he doesn't,
but you're saying that he might not even get that transfer window. I mean, that's the thing. I mean,
the 2 defeats are before it, aren't they? Yeah.
Yeah, no, I get that, but that would make no sense to me whatsoever. And I can understand the pressure that he'd be under, and I can understand the feelings of many, especially those that may be in a position to do something. But to actually chop him before he's had a chance to maybe, he might have identified a strike, he might have identified 2 strikers for all we know. I mean, what should be happening now is that Thelwell or whoever, should be there literally outside the door of the striker shop, like on Boxing Day sales, ready to go straight in there.
In a sleeping bag.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. My first ex-mother-in-law used to do that with the next sale, stuff like
5
that.
5 o'clock in the morning.
Absolutely be there, going in for that top that she'd already identified in November. But this is what you have to do.
But she's planned ahead, Dave. To be fair, she's got a strategy sorted.
And this is exactly it. And strategy is a word. And this is something that we seem to be so bereft of, is the fact that we need to have a strategy. We need to know what's going to happen. As soon as that window opens, bang, straight in there like a trolley dash, get our business done and come back and then sit there and then prep. Don't wait there till the 27th or the 28th when everybody else has been sniffing around all the decent, targets. And we're after loan players from Turkey. It's just mad.
Loan Dele Alli back, yeah. Go on, Andy.
Oh my God! But you think about the games we've had so far this season, and it's been fine margins. We've missed a lot of sitters, so maybe it could just be the difference between that one piece of the puzzle, someone who's got a bit more composure, and we have missed some big chances in games. And we're looking at a completely different roadmap for the rest of the season.
3 or 4 or 5 more points. We're all sat here going, could have a decent second half of the season. We've got 2/3 of the season left. But do you think Everton could really take the pressure off Lampard, regardless of the 2 results? Because they are coming before the window opens. If Everton could do, and we hinted at this the other week, but what they did with Michalenko. So therefore, if Everton have got a striker lined up, get a deal done and announce
pre-order
on the pre-order, fully announce it. Around Christmas time, Everton have signed, we've been like with Beto from Udinese, who's a good player who would make a difference to us. Everton have agreed a deal with Udinese for Brazilian forward, Portuguese forward, Beto for £25 million, and the player will sign on January the 1st. Something like that.
Unless the deal gets hijacked.
Yeah, but it's basically done and agreed. And then does that then buy the manager a little bit more time regardless of the 2 games? Or are the 2 games still? I mean, Man City away is one of them. So let's cross that off. I don't see
that ain't going to happen, is it?
Man City. So that's done. So
we ain't going to have a cup run as well with the United draw.
And exactly right. So therefore, he's under real pressure, isn't he? He's got Wolves and Brighton at home, either side of that City game. He needs 4 points out of them too.
But like Ped was saying the other week, it's really, really the best time to have done it, which would have been stupid, would be before this World Cup starts, because whoever the new bosses has got X amount of weeks to work with players and all. But that would have been mad, given that we do. Have faith in Lampard, and we know that it's not just him. There's other factors that are slowing things down a little bit. But the other thing that might happen is that we have a couple of ropey results. He finally gets to a transfer window, gets a couple more people in, then gets sacked 2 games after we resume after the transfer window, and then
which is then crazy.
And the problem is that it just feels, the analogy that I use, it's like snakes and ladders. You just feel like you've actually made progress of sorts. And I know that it's not all kind of upward progress, and there's a bit of flat and there's a bit of down, but you'd like to think the progress is being made as a whole. And you do all that over however many weeks and months and whatever. And we've seen it so many times with so many different managers, and we're seeing it now with Lampard. And then suddenly the idea comes to, and by the way, I'll preface this with the fact that I didn't think this about Rafa Gomez. That's another story. But they go and chop the manager, and suddenly straight back to square one again. And it's a bit like, we've now got to completely rebuild. Now we've got a load of players which actually are surplus to requirements because they don't fit in with the thoughts and the strategy of the new manager coming in. Therefore, we've got to have a completely new overhaul. And it's just, it's so counterproductive.
Isn't this what Everton's fundamental problem is, though? So, say Frank Lampard, just say for argument's sake, he wants to play out from the back. So Everton get some players that theoretically can play out from the back. And then what we've done is we've gone, no, Frank, you're not good enough now. We're replacing you with Andy Bush. And Andy Bush likes to play 4-4-2, banging it long to 6'5" strikers. And therefore,
I don't play by the rules, but I get results.
Exactly, Andy. And listen, I wouldn't put it past. I think you will get results.
Andy's not here for a long time. He's here for a good time.
Exactly.
Thank you very much.
And that's it. He's not here to make friends either. He's here to win pots. And then, therefore, like you say, the manager comes in and goes, well, see, who you've spent 30 million on there, and him, they're no good for me. I don't want them. And therefore, we lurch from what, and the sensible people would say, well, put a thread in place where you play a certain system, you play a certain way.
Well, like Arsenal,
but then,
for example.
Have a look at managers. But have a look at managers around who are doing similar jobs at other clubs, who play a similar way to the way this fella wants to play. And then if you start looking and going, he's not really cutting it, this man, we can bring Exhibit A in over here who will use those players because they're very similar to the way he plays anyway. And
it's where the power's focused, though, because, like you take Arsenal, for example, they have, Edu there. They've got a way that they want to play football. They keep going about the process. But he felt that, if things didn't go right for Arteta, they'd get in another manager that would play and fit in with the way that they can see that the trajectory of the club. So, but what we've got at Everton is that every new guy that comes in's got a new way of doing it, new backroom staff, and the whole thing, like Dave was saying, snakes and ladders all over again. So, we haven't got someone like that. Have we got a director of football? I don't even know.
Yeah, Kevin Thelwell, and he is, to be fair, he has put a lot of processes in place, and I think he's probably a little bit frustrated about how it's not moved as quickly. So I think there has to be that caveat when we're saying we've done this consistently and we've done this wrong, whatever, that we do have to, the fella's been here 9 months, we have got to allow that process. And I talk to people who are working within recruitment and stuff like that, and they say you do have to just let it play out a little bit, because to start getting the fruits of that, time it is really, and he is making good progress, but us as fans, we need to see it probably right in front of our eyes as well.
I'll tell you what, though, if you watched the Australia games or whatever, we've got some good young players coming through. I know that's like a slightly delayed gratification, but we've got some good players on the way.
Well, what I was going to say was, Dave, does it annoy you that, and I know it was at a different time, but Ellis Sims has scored again on Friday. Has scored again at the weekend and had an assist. And I was speaking to someone last night who was at he's a Liverpool fan, but he went to Sunderland on Saturday for a different reason. Said he looked really good and he was powerful, and I know he went out before Dominic Calvert-Lewin got injured, so we've had this conversation before. Now,
can you cancel loans, though? Can't you cancel loans?
Well, it is difficult,
Not if
I've heard of loans being recalled, though. Do you mean?
But there has to be. There is if you put that into the agreement.
I think you can have it. I mean, at the end of the day, it's a contract, though, isn't it? And I think if you have loaned a player out for that period of time, whether that's a season long or whatever, I'm not aware. I mean, there might be fine print in there whereby.
You can recall, because I think it looks like we're going to recall Jared Brantway from the PSV loan and put him in the Championship because he's not playing enough. But if Ellis Sims basically plays for Sunderland, it's only when he hasn't played he's been injured. So they are competing. They're doing their part of the bargain. I think the higher profile the loan is, like the El Ghazi one last season for half a season. It was quite clear Everton didn't want him. Frank Lampard didn't want him, did he? 4 weeks after.
Who did want him, by the way? Was that Rafa that brought him in towards the end?
Rafa Benitez didn't want him. It was. I think you'll find
it. He came as a make. He came as a make weight, didn't he?
Was your owner. Well, what happened was to get the Luca Dean deal done. Villa couldn't afford Luca Dean's wages, so they couldn't afford to do the deal. So Mashiri's mate, who is El Ghazi's agent, apparently Everton had to pay his wages, which meant Villa had enough money to be able to buy the player they were buying from us and pay his wages. Apparently, that is allegedly, that's what the story is. I can't confirm nor deny it, but that is what the story was, which is a bit berserk. But listen, let's hope that Everton, and I'm sure they are working towards 2 forwards in January. Whether that
it has to be, it has to be a priority. This should have been surely the main focus of all of this time off. I mean, obviously, certain people are there basically trying to make sure that the side is as fit and prepared for the remainder of the season as is possible. Right, that's a given. Then other people within the club, whoever they are, etc., and his team have got to be focusing on who these 2 strikers are that we need, right? Because and we do need 2. One's not enough. We need 2. If that ended up giving us technically 4 strikers with Dominic and Neil Maupay being the other 2, and we have a situation where maybe we have some competition for players, then great, because if you think about the amount of players that we have carried for so long over the last few years on the wage bill, surely if we're going to have surplus anywhere, let's have it up front a little bit now that actually the rest of the team looks relatively solid.
Yeah, totally.
All things considered in terms of where they've been.
Got to.
I reckon.
And I think for me, it's got to be a wide forward and a striker. We've got to have more goals in that front 3.
How good did Richarlison look last night as well, by the way? I mean, it was just... By the way, I don't know when you're listening to this, but at the time of recording, it's Tuesday morning.
It is.
So we obviously watched the Brazil game last night. I mean,
I know... Our beautiful boy.
He just looks so good.
Him with good players, isn't he?
Yeah.
And you think if Everton had I've added a few more since
I'll tell you what, though, Pickford was fantastic. Didn't even get credit for that save he made on the
box. I agree.
It was brilliant. And that's one of the toughest, those games, he doesn't get that with Everton, but when you play for a really good team, you're doing nothing for 25, 30 minutes and you've got to switch on really quickly. And he was absolutely great. Absolutely fantastic.
That's the thing. At least with Everton, they keep his hands warm, don't they?
Totally.
And that's the thing. It's important.
We like to make him get lots of touches to make him better. So I did like Graham Souness's comment last night about Richarlison.
By the way, forget his comment. What was his jacket?
His jacket was terrible.
What was his? I mean, he looked like he'd been done out in some extra kit from an old Miami Vice episode.
It was full Miami Vice, or George Michael in the early 90s. But his comment that Richarlison's improved now because Conte sorted them out. By not playing him?
Yeah.
By not playing him.
Oh, he
was quite good for Everton every single season, double figures every single season. Graham, he's an absolute clown. When he's just talking about the game, you listen and he's quite knowledgeable. The minute he starts digging into reasons why players are doing, you just go, mate, shut up.
I just felt sorry last night for that Eni Aloku, who sat there. She sat in between the 2 most miserable men in sport, in Souness and Roy Keane.
At least Roy Keane's funny though. Souness isn't even funny, is he?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, but Roy Keane's beard just baffles me every time I see it. I just think that he's just looking more and more like a sort of grumpy cartoon goat.
And yet he looks quite youthful when he's got his beard shaved off, and he looks fresh.
But why would you have that? I mean, as a man, as a man, I mean, I can't listen. I'll let you into a secret. I mean, Andy Bush, you're a man who likes to sport facial hair, now as ever. I can't really do that. I only get like a little bit under there, and I get nothing here. So,
but a bum fluff, I believe is the phrase.
Yeah, and I still think that when I move into my 40s, I'm thinking it might be a bit of a kind of Indian summer in my development, and it might sort of come late. But
we'll track that with interest, Dave, when you hit 40. Thank you.
Yeah. I'll let you know.
Someone called you Lautaro Martinez the other day, Dave, the Argentinian striker.
Oh, really? Is that good?
Yeah, he's got a tremendous head of hair like yourself.
Good. Very much.
But yeah, looks good. I think you would score more goals than him at the moment. He's having an absolute mare right now for Argentina. Got a goal disallowed by a toenail in the opening game, and he's lost his place in the team and everything at the moment, so he's not having a great one.
Also as well, wasn't it nice to see Suarez crying?
That was lovely.
Yeah,
and Son last night, to be fair,
Yeah,
but Suarez was especially, him and Nunes, it was especially nice.
Inject it.
No, listen, it is what it is, isn't it? It's not new. I'm messing with Nunes, obviously, but Suarez, it was almost like the guy, Garner have waited 12 years for that moment. After he stopped.
I enjoyed that a lot. I also like, as you say, when you see Son's tears rolling down his Zorro mask as well. There was something beautifully.
It adds extra gravitas.
Just nice, wasn't it? Yeah, absolutely. That'll learn you for Andre Gomez.
Oh God, I mean, Son is Son, really, and Son is we're all fathers to to kids. Obviously, we have 3 dads on this podcast, and Dave, you've got a guest at the moment.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a semi-permanent guest in the shape of my 15-year-old daughter. And by the way, if you don't have a 15-year-old daughter, let me just say it's one of the most joyful and fun times of any parent's, a journey through life.
It is. It's tremendous.
It's a beautiful time. And I particularly enjoy our exchanges at 6:30, 7:15 in the morning.
Is it a little bit like Everton's season? Is it a little bit? Or is it a bit more like a roller coaster?
Yeah, I mean, at times there are question marks over attitude and commitment. And
we've all been there.
Yeah, there are many parallels, and just kind of thinking, could they do more?
Yeah,
could they?
I've constantly asked that of my children.
Could they do more? Could there be more effort there?
Exactly.
Could there be a greater strategy?
Does she not finish her dinner as well?
No, I mean it depends. I mean, she quite likes my cooking. Actually, that's not a problem really. The problems are elsewhere. But yeah, there's many parallels I think with being the father of a 15-year-old who's currently going through her mock GCSEs and following Everton. I mean, it's a challenge for us all, and one that I'd like to say I'm relishing.
Do you find yourself WhatsApping her even though she's in the same house as you?
To come down for a tea and stuff like that?
Our eldest, we communicate basically through WhatsApp if she'll be on. She just chats to friends online.
Yeah.
I don't know what they talk about. They've been at school together for the day, and then they're back on FaceTime.
Yeah, my youngest, Zach, who's he's 11, so just gone to senior school, and that's the same. And he's sat there watching a match the other night. Me and him are watching Saturday. What was it? Argentina. It might have been. And I just hear his mate's voice, and I went.
Like he's in the room.
I went, Zach, what's happening? I was just Stevie. I went, why can I hear Stevie when me and you watching a match? Oh no, Stevie's. I went, mate, honestly, go in the other room and talk to Stevie or Binham. We're watching a footy.
So do you remember what it used to be like though? Because we used to, you wouldn't, if you wanted to chat to a friend when you got back from school, you'd have to, run the gamut of going on the landline, chatting to their parents.
You'd have to sit on the bottom of the stairs on the phone, wouldn't you? And you'd be sat there and you'd always be trying to, there was always that bit in the phone cable, right? This is showing our age somewhat, but anyway, bear with us. With the phone thing, and they would always get like a kink in it where it wasn't quite, the way it was intended.
Yeah.
And then you would try and get that kink out while you were on the phone to one of your mates. But then you'd find that you'd end up doing another one.
Yeah.
And you'd never really get it right because fundamentally
you're not
you're not
an electrical engineer either. You're
not an electrical engineer, but that's what you used to have to do, or you just used to.
Well, you'd have to go and act.
Go knock on the door,
and you do that thing where you'd knock, and the mum would say, "Oh no, he's gone out. He's probably up by wherever." and you'd have to walk up there.
Yeah,
you
he's
know?
gone to buy an iMac off Ned in
Not
St.
Ned,
Helens.
well,
He
not
should be
buy
back in about 40
Yeah,
minutes.
he's got to take an iMac off Ned. And and the kids, they don't know the ball. But they do have that thing. If they have the stages where it's a different language, isn't it? It's a different language.
Yeah, it's just a lot of
yeah.
a lot of grunting.
Yeah.
A lot of grunting.
Eyes, roll the eyes.
I
get told I can't say that anymore quite a lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Aaron, you can't say that anymore.
Yeah, I've had that, and
Life's
the thing is,
moved
you can't even really on any kind of forum like this, which is public. You can't even actually allude to some of the areas that we may have been told that we're not allowed to venture into for fear of maybe
upsetting someone. Yeah.
Let me put it this way. The 1970s, 1980s working men's club range of accents that you could have done.
Gone.
The game's gone.
That's gone. It's finished.
The bottom's fallen out of that business.
Game's gone. The game's gone. What's happened? Sky have ruined this. But no, it is, isn't it? It is.
In the words of Olivier Giroud, le jeu est fini.
There you
that's what he would have said, or maybe what other people associated with him would have said.
A lot of things, yeah. He'd have said a lot of things. It is, Hammer and all of that stuff. And very Sivu play. Lots of very Sivu plays. And Vavavoom. No, it is. It does bring about its trials and tribulations, parenting in the modern day.
I equate it to a film, Baz, in many ways. Yeah. It's the sort of thing whereby if it was a film, this would be the bit that I'd fast forward.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
But you don't want to miss anything either, though, do you?
Yeah, I mean, Andy, you're a man who's got younger children, and you've got children who are still of a cute and likable age.
Yeah. And there'll be a period when you don't like them. You love them, but you don't like them.
Absolutely, but all that stuff, so I think up to 10 is quite nice. 7s and 8s and stuff like that is quite nice. Yeah. But then you sort of get beyond that, and it all gets a bit grunty. Me and Zach, we season ticket holder. We go to the game. He play. I coach his team. He's plays. But sometimes I'm hearing lad, and I'm going, mate, we don't speak like that in this house, mate. Lad. What he's saying, lad to you?
Not to me. No.
Oh,
he said it once. To me, and he will never say it again. Put it that way. The look I give him, he realised very quickly he'd gone in for a 2-footer challenge, and there was VAR there. There was no getting away from it. But
I'm dad, not lad.
Yeah, exactly. It was like I said, never ever utter those words to me again. But it is a thing, and the problem he's grown up quicker than probably what the other two did, because the other two, I've got a daughter who's 24 and I've got a son who's 21. So they were.
I mean, you don't look old enough, Barry. If you don't mind me saying so.
Well, thank you very much.
What's your secret?
Oil of
What's your secret, Baz?
There are other products available. Cold showers, to be honest. Wim Hof.
Or is that lube at all?
And the lube that I bought, the hardly used, on the Facebook Marketplace, and I got some cracking lingerie and an inflatable boat.
An inflatable, absolutely.
It is you're fraught with it, but he's grown up quicker because obviously they're older, so the conversations they're having, he's grown up a little bit with it. But it's fraught with danger, so you just have to cope with it, Dave. You have to do your best. Bjorn Borg, if a reference for the ages there, once he plays one out, you just knock it back. I suppose modern day Novak Djokovic, knock it back past him and turn and walk away, and you'll get through it.
I mean, it's weird though, because I never thought that I would be as obsessed with landing lights and stuff like that as my dad was.
Yeah.
But I genuinely am.
You have to be nowadays, though, don't you?
Even
Blackpool Illuminations is what my parents
even
used to say,
even more so. I mean,
have you used that though, Andy? Does that reference come out?
Yeah, I do all the time. Yeah. It's like Blackpool Illuminations in here, and they go around and
the kids. Which is ironic because you live a lot closer to Southend Pier.
It would have been easier to say Southend. I'm going to be honest with you.
Canvey Island special,
It's like Canvey in here. It's like Canvey Island.
You can bounce it off. No, but it is. You do find yourself, All of those ones, I've never said this, but, I remember, like, me nan used to say to me, you'll be laughing on the other side of your face, and it was like,
what does that mean?
I don't understand what that is.
I remember Billy Connolly trying to explain that one. And he kind of goes, well, what are you going to do? Slash me?
Yeah, that's it. Them kind of I haven't used that one.
Here's a one, and I don't know whether this means anything to you, or whether it was just something that was individually weird of my grandma.
Okay.
But she used to have this expression in terms of, and it was about eating your food, right?
Yeah.
And kids don't want to eat their dinner, they don't want to eat their vegetables and stuff like that. Come on. And her thing was, you got to eat it up and make the skin on your back like velvet. Right? Have anyone ever heard that? Is that not the weirdest thing?
That is so weird.
Make the skin on your back like velvet. And I kind of thought, I don't really want to be like an otter.
Do you want a velvet back?
Do I want a velvet back? And it's a very strange thing. But no, that was one of hers.
Nans do come out with weird phrases. My nan from Norris Green used to come up with some really bizarre. Getting shorter, she said she was growing down like Brown's cow. If she looked a mess, she said she looked like the wreck of the Hesperus. She used to
I've heard that one. I've heard that one.
I haven't heard that. It's like a midden in here. I heard you heard that. Like a midden in here, whatever that was.
My dad always chats. My dad's like quite a chatty person. She always calls him Kitty the cook. Right. Chats to everyone. So she's got a lot of.
There's some great. I mean, the great
crazy phrases.
Like they have things like eat your crust because it'll make your hair curly.
Yeah.
Is that real? Yeah. I mean, Fellaini must have ate crust. John Bailey, were these fellas thriving on crust?
Crust monsters.
Kevin Keegan, that fella must have swerved all the bread and just literally had a diet of crusts, mustn't he?
Absolutely.
There's lots of, it'll put hairs on your chest. I mean,
it's just strange, isn't it? But my grandma had many of these, and she always used to turn the telly off when it rained, because she believed that it could potentially be a risk,
an electric shock,
to the electrics. Wow. As soon as it rained, she would turn the telly off in the corner.
God, but she'd be rubbish in Seattle, wouldn't she?
Absolutely. She always had a jar of Fox's Glacier Mints at all times.
Okay,
there was always Fox's Glacier Mints there.
Would they go to a standard?
Yeah, they would just
have that in.
Just for people coming around could just help themselves to
nice breath.
Absolutely.
Fair play.
Yeah.
Maybe maybe halitosis was not something she was like.
Wasn't keen on it.
Oh,
to be fair, Barry, few people are.
No, and that's it, isn't it? Leaving a nasty smelling your nose. I've got a few questions, and we'll finish with these. These are just suggestions what we could speak about today, and our premier. Subscribers have give us a few. So Stephen Kelly says, what's the strangest present you've all received? Mine's funny, actually, Steve. It was half a bottle of anal loop. Hardly used it. So, what's the strangest Christmas present you've ever received?
God, I remember my brother getting me a really bizarre helicopter, Vietnam War.
I mean, that is bizarre.
A mini helicopter.
Oh, a mini one, okay.
That would be great, though, wouldn't it?
Oh, God. But, from the Vietnam War?
Like a Huey or whatever they're called. From
a
little miniature model of out of the blue, completely out of the blue.
The thought that counts.
Hadn't shown a massive interest in the Vietnam War at that point. History-wise, he just got me a mini helicopter from now.
Hey, listen, the thought that counts, Dave.
I knew you were going to say that, and I can't honestly think of anything.
You knew Andy was going to say he got a mini Vietnam War helicopter.
No,
because if you did, you would be better than the person Andy's about to go and interview. But go on.
I mean, my mum regularly buys me, packs of socks and whatnot, and generally kind of multi-pack clothing things from Mathew. She's big on, which I tend to get, which actually are quite useful. I like to get presents that are a little bit weird, and I quite often get my brother-in-law a calendar, but just sort of random stuff, like kind of border collies,
Amazing,
in hats
lovely.
And things like that, and just things which don't really apply to him whatsoever, but amuse me in their inappropriateness.
Do you know, my nan used to get us big cartons of ciggies each for me and my brother. You don't get
when
them as
you're
presents
like
anymore.
6 and 7.
Oh, yeah, when we were like
the candy ciggies.
No, proper fags. When we were like 18 or 19, she used to get us like a pack of.
Were you a smoker?
Lights each. Yeah, but up until I was 30.
Okay.
I smoked. And weirdly enough, I had hypnotherapy, and then I had one little hypnosis session and was cured.
That is incredible.
Well, like a proper kind of,
look into my eyes, not around my eyes.
Yeah. Was it like Paul McKenna style? Or?
It was a little bit like that. Yeah.
Was it? When you come around, have you? Was that it? Was there any kind of cold turkey situation? Or did you literally just not feel like one?
The guy was really good. I had one session. I came around. My arse hurt, but I didn't want to smoke anymore.
Okay. I'll move on from this. Strangest Christmas present, Steve. I literally can't think of something where I've gone, okay, that's weird. But I remember one thing I've never ever understood. I don't know about you two gentlemen, but we've all gone past the age of 21. But remember when you were 20? Now this might have happened, it might not have happened. But when I turned 21, lots of people got me those boxes with a silver plastic key in that said 21. Do you remember them like a gift?
No.
Okay, maybe it was just up here. And
No.
and I found that incredibly strange because what was I supposed to do?
A silver
chastity thing, is it?
It was like I got other stuff as well, but one of the go-to gifts was like a box about this big with.
Is it key to the house? Is it key to the house?
It was a big key about this big. I don't know what was.
What? And it was like plastic.
Like a plastic silver-coated key with 21 and.
Key to the house. I believe that is a coming of age thing.
Well, I think I got the key when I was to my house when I was about 11. To be honest, when I was coming home from school, but it was
it's just modern life, though, isn't it?
Very strange thing for me. Glenn Watson says, "Do you have any of you have an advent calendar? And if not, what age is the cut-off?" Well, I do have one. I have a Cadbury. No, I don't. I've got a white dairy, not dairy milk. What are they? Dairy Nestle white chocolate one. I've got.
Okay.
We have them. We 5 of us in our house have a chocolate one, which my missus gets us every year. We all get one each, one a day. Do you two gentlemen have advent calendars? And if so, what is the age that you should stop having them?
Do you know? I mean, and actually, it's strange because now that you brought it up, what date is it today at the time of recording? Is it the 6th?
6th of December, I think it is.
Okay, so I've missed the first 6 days. It's only just dawned on me just now that
A,
I haven't got one, and also B, I haven't bought my daughter one either. Which is possibly an oversight.
I would get one, and then she's got 6 days very quickly of chocolate.
Well, that's the thing. If I went out today later on and got us one each, then we would have a little bit of a head start on Christmas.
It'd be absolutely tremendous.
Yeah, I think I'd probably go for. I mean, if you're going to go for the white chocolate Nestle one, then in the interests of balance and other chocolates are available,
they are.
And I would probably go for some brown chocolate Cadbury's type products.
Yeah. They will be very nice.
I will have a look later. I'll report back, actually. And in fact, you know what? And if I do get one, I will show you my open doors, as it were, next week.
Can't wait for that, Dave.
Can't wait. I can't wait. I'll send you that loop. Andy, yourself?
Yeah, I've got a pork scratchings.
Stop it.
I have.
Really?
There's a company called the Snuffling Pig.
I've heard of them. Yeah.
They do fancy pork scratchings, and they have a little pack behind each door, so you have a different flavoured pork scratching every day.
Amazing.
We've got one of those.
Amazing. Great. Jez D says, what time is it appropriate to start having a drink, should you want to, on Christmas Day?
You see, I would say that on Christmas Day, all rules go out the window. Yeah. With regards
chocolate
to that.
For breakfast, that kind of thing.
Yeah, no, genuinely, it's about, because we all know what's socially acceptable in normal life.
Yeah, of course.
And then there's a few exceptions. Christmas Day being one, the Saturday or Sunday of your friend's stag do is another.
Yeah.
Any kind of lads' weekend actually, or a festival. Also, all of these normal rules go out of the window.
Yeah.
But no, Christmas Day, I think you can, you see perfectly respectable people in society who can be there in the kitchen, with some glass of something, deeply alcoholic at 10:15 while making bacon sandwiches. And it's sort of all right.
Yeah. In fact, you'd almost applaud it. I don't drink really, but I would applaud that if I see a mum or a dad in the kitchen with a hat on and they're cooking breakfast and having it. I say, you know what, you're getting fully into it, so fair play.
Yeah, no, I don't think there are any rules on. Are you with me, Mr. Bush?
Yeah, I think all rules go out the window, including what you wear. Anything goes. Literally, the only rule is there are no rules.
What a line!
What a line that is.
Glenn Watson says, can you air fry an entire Christmas dinner, turkey, stuffing, carrots, Brussels sprouts? I feel like we'll pause this one and Ped can answer it next week, because I think are we all still without an air fryer?
Yeah, we're without an air fryer, and I think all I'll say on that front is and this is something that I still require clarification. Well, qualification and clarification from Ped when he returns from Brooklyn.
I think so. Yeah.
Is the fact that I'm not fully aware of the difference between air frying and roasting, or indeed baking. I mean, where does roasting finish and baking finish and start? These are both oven-based hot air situations, which is also, I think, the fundamentals of air frying.
Right,
and I don't really know the difference.
I think that one should be a motion that's put forward to next week, and we will discuss in greater detail once we've disciplined Mr. Bush.
Absolutely, don't forget that.
And Paul Black and White says, is Ped the new
Is that
Bush?
his surname? Is it double-barrelled?
Unless he just wants to go full Michael Jackson on a song, I don't know.
Paul Black and White, that's
Paul
amazing.
Black, it's a tremendous name, if that is his full name. Is Ped the new Bush? That's what Paul wants to know.
Oh, I see, because he's absent.
He's absent without leave. It's hard to say, isn't it? He's missed, 2, hasn't he? He managed to miss the opening episode, which is quite diva-ish. But in general, he's got out of bed to be
but
here.
not happily.
Oh, he's not happily, mate. He's never. To be honest, this is the happiest I've ever seen him because Everton aren't playing.
But I mean, the other. I mean, we do potentially. There are potentially choppy waters ahead, and I'm not talking about the remainder of Everton's season. I'm talking about the fact that actually, in addition to the disciplinary sanctions which need to be discussed and then imposed upon Mr. Bush, we also need to potentially look at a new schedule for recording.
We do.
Because what we have been doing, and this is probably of no interest whatsoever to anybody watching this out at the moment, but we have been going from midday on a Tuesday. Yeah. But that's now becoming increasingly difficult for Bush's showbiz calendar. We might have to make it early. Now, herein lies the problem, is that Ped doesn't like to get up in the morning before 11. So I don't quite know how this is going to go. So in terms of trying to get the full squad and get us all, Tarkowski and Cody on your ass, all in the same room week in, week out, I don't know how that's going to work.
Well, we're just going to have to put the pressure on him because literally it's only his own laziness that's stopping him. So
it reminds me of the Alan Partridge episode where Roger Moore is on the M25 and is always on his way towards the episode but never quite gets there. That's what Ped reminds me of.
Maybe we remotely buzz him in from his bedroom. That'll be interesting. But no, that is something. You are absolutely right. Once again, Mr. Vitti, that is something that will have to go before the board, will be discussed, and we'll have to see if we can come up with a satisfactory outcome.
I think we're prepared for these kind of challenges.
I think me and you are very much the staple. We are flexible. We'll go with it.
Cody and Tarkowski, you two are.
We don't mind putting our foot in. We don't mind
exactly. I think so, and I think that if we ever do have a Toffee TV Christmas lunch, I think that you and me, Barry, are doing the seating plan.
Absolutely,
and also doing the order.
This was going to be my next thing, but obviously it's very difficult. But it would be lovely if you two could at some stage get up here for whatever. We
should do it. That'd be great.
It would be amazing it'd be amazing to all be in the same room and do one of these. It'd be hilarious. But then obviously to have some food and a drink as well together, because I feel like we should.
I think we should as well.
Do you think Ped's facial hair will have grown back by then?
I don't know.
I'm unsettled by having seen him last time.
You didn't see him. You didn't have to see him in person come in without saying a word, and literally just sat down. So when I think it might have been you, Mr. Bush, went hang on before. No, actually, it might have been
wasn't
Dave.
Here.
It might have been you, Dave, then, where you had to address it immediately.
Oh, I had to. It was the elephant in the room, and that's not meant to be rude.
And I looked and was like, "What's happened here?
What's happened to him?
Look like him." So,
fellas, we're gonna have to go. I've got to take my little 4-year-old into town.
I'm about to finish. But, you've butted in, so let's finish it now. That is us.
I am the diva.
Stick that on the minutes, by the way, for the kangaroo court.
Absolutely. Mr. Bush trying to end podcast before I'm just about to. Listen,
everyone loves a happy ending, Daz.
But not when it's premature, Andrew.
Thanks, David.
On that note, thank you very much for listening. We'll be back next week. Cheers, fellas. Take it easy. See you later. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.